Hi, I'm Marie Dihamo. Welcome to my Buggy Student CRUD Practical Lab. Today we're going from a broken sabotage code base to a professional fully functional management system. I've identified several logic and mapping errors, so let's jump right in and fix them. So in this segment, we're fixing a critical connection bug where the application is pointing to the wrong SQL Server instance. Notice that the app isn't just missing data, it's failing to even reach the server. This usually means our connection string is trying to talk to a server that doesn't exist. So let's check the app settings.json. Here in the default connection, the server is set to local DB invalid server. Since my local SQL instance is actually named MSSQL local DB, the handshake is failing. So I'm correcting the server path to Leo laptop // SQL Express. This tells the .NET runtime exactly which local database engine to wake up when the app starts. With the server name fixed, the application should now be able to locate the database engine and pull our student records. And success! By pointing the app to the correct SQL instance, our data is back online. Another configuration bug fixed. In this segment, we're fixing a logic bug in our search filter that's causing valid records to disappear. Notice that when I search for Maria, the system says no record found even though we can see Maria Santos right there. This is a classic case of a logical operator error in the back end. Let's look at the index method. Here's the problem. Our linQ query is using the AND operator. It's requiring the search item to match the first name and last name and course all at once, which is impossible. Let's rerun the application and see the difference. And there she is. By simply switching from a restrictive AND to a flexible OR logic, our search is now working perfectly. In this segment, we're fixing a navigation bug where clicking one student details unexpectedly opens another student's profile. Notice that I click on Juan, but the system is showing me Maria Santos instead. Since our view is correct, the issue must be in our controller logic. Even though we're passing an ID into the method, the code is ignoring it and is hard-coded to the first student ID, number 5, which is Maria. By replacing the static number 5 with the ID parameter, now the database will fetch the specific student that was actually clicked. Now that the controller is actually listening to the request, let's test it again. And perfect. Now the correct data is being retrieved. It's a good reminder to always check both the view and the controller when debugging navigation. In this segment, we're fixing a data display bug where a student's name appears backwards on their details page. Notice that for Anthony Dehamo, the fields are swapped. The system is showing his surname under first name. This is common data mapping error in the Razor view. Let's look at the source code. The problem is right here on lines 14 and 17. Even though our labels are correct, the model properties are mismatched. On line 14, the first name label is pulling the last name property. And on line 17, the last name label is pulling the first name. I'm going to swap these back to their correct positions by ensuring the display for helper matches the intended display name for label. We restore the correct data flow to the UI. And there we go, Anthony's name is now displayed in the proper order. The mapping bug is officially resolved. In this segment, we're fixing a frustrating bug where clicking the Save button does absolutely nothing, and when all the student information is filled out correctly. As you can see, I've entered all the required data, but when I click Save, the student isn't added to our list. It feels like the button is broken, but the real issue is hidden in our controller's logic. Let's look at the create method. Here is the bug. There is an exclamation mark before the model state that is valid. This means the code is only attempting to save the data if the form is invalid. I'm removing the not operator, and now the application will correctly proceed to add the student to the database only when the validation passes. This is a classic logic inversion error with the logic fixed. Let's go back to the browser and try adding our student one more time. And there we go. The student is now successfully saved and we are redirected back to the main list. The add new student functionality is now fully operational. In this segment, we're troubleshooting a persistent bug where deleting a student record appears to work but the data never actually leaves the list. I've just attempted to delete Marie Dihamo. The application redirected me back to the index, but as you can see, Marie is still there. This means our delete action is firing, but it's not talking to the database correctly. Let's look at the delete confirmed method. Sorry. Here's the issue. Our code finds the student record and even calls save changes as sync, but the logic inside the if block is completely empty. I'm adding the missing command underscore context that students that remove open parentheses and inside is the student. Without this specific line, entity framework doesn't know which entity to mark for deletion before the changes are saved. Now that the command is in place, let's try removing that record again. And success. Marie Dihamo has been permanently removed from the records by ensuring the remove method is called. We finalized the data deletion cycle. In this segment, we're fixing a critical exception that occurs when trying to update an existing student's information. When I try to change Anna's scores and hit save, the system throws an exception. This is happening because the application is confused about whether it's creating a new record or updating an old one. Let's look at the controller first. Here is the first bug inside a try block. The code is calling underscore context that adds students since Anna already exists in the database. Trying to add her again causes a primary key conflict. I'm changing add to update, which this tells the identity framework to look for the existing record and only modify the changed values instead of inserting a duplicate. But there's a second issue. In our edit.cshtml view, the form is missing the hidden ID field. Without this, the controller receives an ID of 0, so it doesn't know which student to update. I'm adding this hidden input. This ensures that the student unique ID is passed back to the server during the post request, even though the user doesn't see it on the screen. Now that we've fixed both the view and the controller logic, let's try updating Anna Reyes again. And success! The update went through smoothly by ensuring the ID is passed, and using the correct update method, we've restored the fully functionality of our edit feature. I noticed a bug where our name sort feels random when we have students with the same surname like the Hamo family here. Even though they are sorted by last name, their first names are out of order. This is because our LINQ query isn't told what to do when last names match. So to fix this, I'm adding that then by clause to our sorting logic. This ensures that if the last names are identical, the system will secondary sort by their first names. Now the sorting is much more predictable and organized, providing a true alphabetical list. And there we go. Anthony, Jennifer, and Teresa are now perfectly alphabetized. The random sort bug, and it is fixed. Sometimes sorting by surname isn't enough, and in this segment, I'm going to show you how to customize our sorting logic to prioritize the first name over the last name. Currently, our system defaults to surname sorting, but if we want to group students by their given names first, we need to adjust our LINQ query in the backend. Let's look at the switch statement in the default and name underscore DSC cases. We are currently targeting last name first. I'm going to swap these properties to change the sorting hierarchy by placing first name in the order by clause and last name in the then by clause. The system will now alphabetize by first name and use the last name only to break a tie. Let's rerun the application and see how this looks in the browser. And there we go. The list is now organized by first name. This provides a different, more personal way to navigate our student records, logic updated, and the bug is fixed. So in this part, I'm going to show you how our add student form handles input validation using a key difference between two scenarios. First, I've entered with a GPA of 99. As soon as my focus moves out of that field, this red error message appears. Please enter a value less than or equal to 4. Crucially, notice that I have not clicked saved yet, nor have I submitted the form. The message just popped up in the current form view. This is called the client-side validation. This works using JavaScript libraries, specifically jQuery validation, which are loaded onto the browser page. It tests the user's input locally, providing instant feedback before any data ever leaves the computer. It's perfect for range or required field checks. Now, it looks like very different after I fix the GPA field and then click the Save Student button. The page reloaded, and since client-side validation didn't stop me from clicking Save, the form data was sent to the server for processing. This is called server-side validation. Inside my controller's create method, this block checks the model state that is valid. Since those fields were missing required data, the check failed. The controller then tells the application to return to the same form view, but this time it includes the specific validation errors generated by the server. This is our final line of defense against bad data entering the database. By implementing both client-side feedback and robust server-side checks, we create a secure and user-friendly experience. And that's it. Thank you for following my debugging journey. Happy coding!